The history of cinema is a story of human imagination, technological ambition, and the universal desire to sit in a darkened room and be transported to another world entirely. And nowhere is that story more dramatically told than in the raw numbers that measure how many people across the globe chose to buy a ticket and experience a film on the biggest screen possible. The worldwide box office is the most objective measure the film industry has of what truly captured the imagination of humanity at any given moment, and the 10 films that sit at the very top of that all-time list represent not just financial triumphs, but genuine cultural earthquakes, moments in cinema history that pulled audiences out of their homes and into theaters in numbers that have never been surpassed. At the absolute summit of this list stands James Cameron's Avatar, released in 2009, which has earned a staggering 2,123,710,708 at the worldwide box office, according to Box Office Mojo, making it the single highest-grossing film in the history of motion pictures. Avatar was a film that did not merely succeed, it redefined what cinema was capable of delivering, introducing mainstream audiences to immersive 3D filmmaking on a scale never previously attempted, and transporting them to the alien world of Pandora with a visual richness that left viewers genuinely speechless. Cameron spent over a decade developing the technology required to make this film, and when it finally arrived in theaters in December 2009, it became the first movie in history to ever gross more than $2 billion worldwide, a milestone that had once seemed impossible. It was re-released multiple times, including a 2022 special edition that pushed its cumulative total even higher, and it remains the undisputed king of the box office to this day. In second place sits another Marvel Cinematic Universe titan, Avengers Endgame, released in April 2019, which earned $2,799,439,100 worldwide, making it the highest-grossing superhero film ever made, and briefly the highest-grossing film of all time before Avatar's 2022 re-release reclaimed the top spot. Endgame was the culmination of 22 interconnected Marvel films spanning 11 years, and it opened to the single largest opening weekend in box office history at the time, pulling in over $1.2 billion globally in just its first weekend of release, a figure so enormous it shattered every record that had previously existed. The film brought closure to character arcs that hundreds of millions of fans had been following for over a decade, and the emotional weight of that storytelling translated directly into one of the most powerful box office performances cinema has ever witnessed. Third on the all-time list is James Cameron's second entry in his Avatar franchise, Avatar: The Way of Water, released in December 2022, which grossed $2,234,284,620 worldwide, making Cameron the only director in history to have directed two of the top three highest-grossing films of all time. The Way of Water was a deeply ambitious film, running at over 3 hours in length and pushing the boundaries of underwater filmmaking technology even further than its predecessor had pushed 3D. And while some critics questioned whether the world needed a sequel, audiences across the globe voted emphatically with their wallets that they did. In fourth position stands Titanic, also directed by James Cameron and released in 1997, which has accumulated $2,264,112,968 in worldwide box office across its original release and subsequent re-releases, including a celebrated 3D re-release in 2012. Titanic was the film that first established Cameron as the undisputed master of the modern blockbuster, becoming the first movie ever to gross $1 billion worldwide during its original run in 1997-1998, and its combination of spectacular practical and visual effects with a deeply felt love story between Jack and Rose, played by Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, made it a film that resonated with audiences of every age, background, and nationality around the world. The fifth spot has recently been claimed by a remarkable newcomer, Ne Zha 2, the Chinese animated film released in January 2025, which became the highest-grossing animated film of all time by pulling in over $2.2 billion worldwide, the vast majority of that total coming from China's domestic box office alone, which recorded 2,609,602,296 from this single film according to Box Office Mojo, making it the most successful film in Chinese cinema history by an enormous margin and propelling it into the all-time global top 5. The film, a sequel to the beloved 2019 Chinese animated hit Ne Zha, demonstrated with undeniable force that the global film industry is no longer simply a Western-dominated enterprise, When Chinese storytelling connects with Chinese audiences on a cultural and emotional level, the resulting box office numbers can rival and even surpass the largest Hollywood productions ever made. In sixth place sits Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, released in December 2015, which earned approximately $2.068 billion worldwide and represented the triumphant return of the Star Wars franchise after a decade-long absence from cinema screens under its new Disney ownership. The film benefited from one of the most extraordinary waves of audience anticipation in cinema history, reuniting original cast members Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill, while introducing compelling new characters played by Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and Adam Driver, and the combination of nostalgia and genuine excitement drove it to the highest-grossing opening weekend in U.S. domestic history at the time of its release. Seventh place belongs to Avengers: Infinity War, the 2018 Marvel epic that earned approximately $2.48 billion worldwide and served as the direct precursor to Endgame, introducing the universe-threatening villain Thanos, whose dramatic finger snap at the film's conclusion created perhaps the single most talked-about movie ending of the entire decade and sent audiences rushing back to theaters to see how the story would conclude. The eighth highest-grossing film of all time is Spider-Man: No Way Home, released in December 2021, which earned approximately $1.9 billion worldwide and became one of the most remarkable box office success stories of the post-pandemic era, proving that audiences would return to movie theaters in enormous numbers when given the right film. And the right film in this case featured the long-anticipated return of previous Spider-Man actors Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, alongside Tom Holland, in an unprecedented multiverse crossover that drove audiences to a level of excitement rarely seen in modern cinema. In ninth place stands Jurassic World, the 2015 reboot of Steven Spielberg's iconic dinosaur franchise directed by Colin Trevorrow and starring Chris Pratt, which earned $1,671,537,404 worldwide and became one of the fastest films in history to cross the billion-dollar mark at the global box office, achieving that milestone in just 13 days. Closing out the top 10 is The Lion King, the 2019 photorealistic animated remake of Disney's beloved 1994 classic, which earned 1,662,020,809 worldwide and confirmed that Disney's strategy of remaking its animated classics in live-action or photorealistic formats could generate truly massive box office returns when executed with the kind of technical artistry and star power, Beyoncé, Donald Glover, and James Earl Jones, that this film delivered. These 10 films, spanning a remarkable range of genres from science fiction epics and superhero spectaculars to romantic tragedies, family animations, and action blockbusters, collectively represent the pinnacle of commercial cinema, proof that when a film connects with the deepest emotions and most universal desires of global audiences, the financial results can be nothing short of extraordinary.